I find this to be a hilarious video. It's a video of cops whining about people not liking cops and victim blaming people for cops killing people because they don't respect cops enough.
My name is Mike O'Meara. I'm the president of the New York State Association of PBAs. And I just want to talk to you, the press, and I want to talk to the police officers. 375 million interactions with the public every year. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive responses.
Yeah, but that doesn't negate the negative responses, especially when cops, kill kids, unarmed black people, people sleeping in their houses, and then nothing happens. Uh, and when cops, overwhelmingly do whatever they can to protect those people, it's going to make cops look pretty bad.
Overwhelmingly positive responses. But I read in the papers all week, we all read in the papers, that in the black community, mothers are worried about their children getting home from school without being killed by a cop. What world are we living in? That doesn't happen. It does not happen.
Yes, it does. I don't know what world you think we live in, but Tamir Rice, uh, a minor who was playing, with a BB gun, uh, somebody called the cops. Cops arrive, shoot him on sight. Um, he wasn't, disrespecting authority or anything, and cops kill him for having a BB gun. That's the world we live in.
I am not Derek Chauvin. They are not him. He killed someone. We didn't. We are restrained.
Okay. When stuff like this does happen, you need to, uh, be against that person. When cops commit crimes, arrest them for committing those crimes instead of trying to protect them, cover up their crimes, or in some way protect them or help them get their job back, which is something the police union is known to do, is to help cops even uh, when it's been shown that they've killed innocent people, help them get their jobs back.
And you know what? I'm saying this to all the cops here. Because you know what? Everybody's trying to shame us. The legislators, the press, everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. Well, you know what? This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it. And so do theirs. So do theirs.
It's it's tarnished when you protect bad cops even though you know they're bad cops. Um like all the cops in Boston that protested the cops that got punished for uh, pushing that 75-year-old person to the ground. They protested by quitting the emergency response teams that they were on. Uh, that that shows how the number of cops that will support another, even if they've you know assaulted another person and is being punished for assaulting a person. Um, and then you have cops that are quitting the force or going to other departments because you have states that are seeking to punish cops for actually committing crimes, and it shows that uh, they may act like they're squeaky clean people, but they have stuff to hide. If they didn't have anything to hide, they wouldn't have anything to fear about laws keeping the bad apples from not being punished.
For over 39 years, I was a police officer in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For 15 of those years, I was the sheriff of Milwaukee County. I've done everything you can do as a cop, from walking the beat to investigating murder to running the agency. I've met a lot of cops of every race, ethnicity, and background. Here's what I can tell you. Cops are not perfect. That's not a news flash, but this might be. They don't have to be perfect. They have to be excellent. And most officers reach excellence every single day and often under very difficult circumstances, circumstances you can't imagine and wouldn't want to if you could. Perfection is an unattainable goal.
Okay, nobody ever says cops have to be perfect or thought that they were perfect. People know that they're people, even if cops don't always act like people. It's the fact that, you know, even when a cop is shown killing a person on video, you still have all these cops that will fight tooth and nail to protect that cop. If you want true excellence, or excellency, you will want to start punishing these bad apples, and because the saying goes, one bad apple spoils the barrel, so you gotta you know pluck that apple away before the entire department becomes corrupt.
Cops are ordinary human beings, like everyone else. Lawyers, surgeons, and baseball players, they make mistakes. But no profession works harder to correct its mistakes. You can mark social progress by the improvements made by police departments over the last 50 years. Today, police are more professional, better educated, and better trained than at any time in their history.
Hmm. I don't know. I kind of want to doubt all that because, you know, uh, cops killing kids, I wouldn't call that better training. Cops killing innocent people, definitely would not call that better training. And the amount of time cops need to be in, police school is relatively low, nor do they need to learn any kind of uh, law schooling. So you basically have a bunch of uh, ignorant cops that are pretty poorly trained, doing things that they're not really qualified for. Like when cops do wellness checks or help with in medical situations. Uh, for the most part, cops aren't really trained to handle a lot of those medical situations. And you would be better off having like the EMTs or some kind of medical professional go and do the wellness check or something.
You wouldn't know it, though, if you listened to self-serving, self-righteous politicians and activists. In their version of history, the police are the villains of the story, not its heroes. Like everything else this crowd does, they've got it all backwards. The police aren't the problem. The politicians and activists are. The police didn't create the failed urban policies that have locked people into generational poverty. The police aren't responsible for fatherless homes, failing schools, and bad lifestyle choices. And they sure as hell aren't responsible for the lack of respect shown to police officers.
Okay, So he admits that there's problems for the black community, generational poverty, fatherless homes, which is due to the war on drugs and mass incarceration, and the targeting of uh, black people for jails. Um, the bad lifestyle choices is bullshit. Um, because that's just another way of blaming poor people for being poor. Um, if he truly believes that it's the fault of the politicians, he needs to advocate for a change in policies and actually, help these communities uh, rise up in like wealth and status and stuff. Because generational poverty, that's gonna cause a whole lot of problems. Because without money, you don't get a good education. Without a good education, you can't get a good job. Without a good job, you're gonna be stuck being poor. And when you're poor, you're gonna be more likely to commit crimes in order to get access to the goods and services that you need. If we started providing uh, better funding for these communities, you would see a decrease in crime as these people had, a better way to access the stuff that they need. Uh, they need better schoolings, better funded schoolings. Um, if we stopped basing it on property taxes, which a lot of black people are poor, due to generational poverty. So that's that due to being impoverished, schools get less funding. Um, if we didn't use property taxes and base it on um, maybe like the number of students that go to the school and probably, other variables, we could have schools funded better, allowing the poor communities to get a better education. The hospitals and stuff need to be funded so that these people can, actually get their health taken care of. Um, there's a lot that can be done in order to actually help change what is going on if you want to be, seen as the good guys.
It is this lack of respect for authority, fostered over decades by the progressive left and its fear the police narrative, that has led to the needless deaths of so many young black men.
Oh, I almost forgot about this. Okay, yeah. Now he's blaming the lack of respect as the reason why uh, black people are killed by the cops. Um, okay, let's again take the case of Tamir Rice, who was a kid playing with a BB gun outside. Cops were called. Cops arrived, shoot him without asking questions. Um, where was the uh, lack the lack of respect for authority in that case? Um, to try to justify uh, people dying because they don't respect authority is a pretty sick justification.
When Officer Darren Wilson told Michael Brown to get out of the middle of the street in Ferguson, Missouri, did Brown comply? No. When officers in Baltimore told Freddie Gray to stop resisting arrest, did he comply? No. When officers in New York City told Eric Garner to stop resisting arrest, did he comply?
Okay, just because somebody resists arrest doesn't mean a cop has the authority uh, to kill them, even though this guy is trying to make the case. The only time a cop can use lethal force is if somebody is in immediate danger of being killed by somebody else, either the cop or another person. Um, resisting arrest is not a capital offense, and uh, cops don't become instant judge, jury, and executioners just because somebody is resisting.
No. Here's a useful tip. If you want to avoid a bad outcome with a police officer, follow this simple rule. When a cop gives you a lawful command, obey it, even if you disagree. Whatever problem you are experiencing is not going to be settled on the street. People with complaints need to use the process established for that purpose. Though cops don't have the final say, they do in that moment.
No. Um, like if somebody is just sitting doing nothing, cops don't have the right to like come up to them and try to command them to do whatever they want. If cops don't have suspicion of somebody uh, committing a crime or actually see them committing a crime, cops can't do anything whatsoever. Uh, though this guy, he's trying to claim that just obey the cops and cops won't murder you. Though, like George Floyd, he was on the ground for 9 minutes with three cops on him. He wasn't disobeying the cops in that moment, pleading to be allowed to breathe. And what did the cops do? Murder him. So this narrative of just obey the cops and the cops won't murder you is a fucked up narrative anyways, because that's not how the cops are supposed to operate. It's not obey me and I won't execute you. It should be, I'm here to help you. What do you need? Or if they see a problem, try to de-escalate the situation if it's becoming violent, or you know do something that's actually productive and not just straight obey me or die.
How you react can be a matter of life or death. But the idea that a law-abiding citizen has to fear the police is a terrible and destructive lie. Let's get some perspective. In 2014, 990 people were killed in police use of force incidents. Does that sound like a lot? Did you know that according to a Johns Hopkins study, that same year medical errors killed 250,000 people?
Okay, but I don't see how that's really comparable, especially when the doctors will in some way face consequences for uh you know medical malpractice, which is why they have like malpractice insurance. Doctors can have their licenses revoked, um go to jail over various behaviors, unlike cops, which for the most part uh don't face punishment for the crimes that they commit. Um, uh, there a few times where cops have been, charged with crimes, but then you have the grand jury, which ends up acquitting them of any possible charges. So you have cops a lot of times walking away. Um, like the cops that killed Breonna Taylor, uh, they break into her house, they shoot her up. She gets shot with 8 bullets, and even though she is still alive after being shot, cops don't do anything, and she ends up dying. And these cops walk free, and it's that's doctors don't usually get to walk free if they're caught, killing their patients.
Yet activists aren't marching in the streets demanding that the medical profession be reformed. Why not? Why is it that the people who protect
Oh, yeah. And there are lots of times where people have sought medical reform for various things that doctors were doing wrong. Um, so to say that, it never happens or hasn't happened is, pretty false.
you from the bad guys, and I've seen these bad guys close up, are the subject of distrust and anger? Why is it that groups like Black Lives Matter, I call them Black Lies Matter, because it's based on the falsehood that police represent a danger to black people, are
Police pretty much do represent a danger to black people when uh, black people are about 4 times more likely to be killed in a police interaction compared to a white person. um, and pretty much throughout history, the cops have been used to subjugate black people. You had the slave patrollers during the colony days, during Jim Crow era. You had the cops that supported Jim Crow laws and would, uh, subjugate black people for, not obeying. During the civil rights movement, you had cops attacking black people for protesting for equal rights. Um, you had the war on drugs, which was used to target black people uh, for using drugs disproportionately to white people. And even though it was all found out and known that the war on drugs was used to incarcerate black people, uh, the cops still supported it. Um, there's a reason why a lot of black people don't really like cops, and it's because cops don't give black people a good reason for them to like cops.
celebrated by the media and politicians. All this is taking its toll on cops, and even more tragically, on the law abiding citizens in the neighborhoods that most need a strong police presence. The murder rates in these neighborhoods are going up because lawful aggressive policing is going down.
Mm, no, but in impoverished neighborhoods, violence and crime goes up because people are poor, and that tends to lead to poor education, poor health care, poor mental health care, um, lack of you know, good social systems and interactions with people, and it all leads to problems. Even in earlier in the video where he talks about uh, policies leading to generational poverty, that kind of generational poverty does take its toll on groups of people and families as they grow up. Um, repeatedly living um, in households that are poor, knowing that or thinking that they'll never be able to gain any kind of difference in life because they've always been poor. And let's look at it. The Jim Crow era wasn't too long ago. That's what, about 60 years. During the Jim Crow era, black people were prevented from gaining wealth, just like during slavery, Jim Crow, during mass incarceration of black people. It was all to prevent black people from gaining wealth, which is why there's a uh, generational poverty going on. Um, but with Jim Crow, it's not too long ago, and what, like, somebody's grandparents grew up during Jim Crow, so their family is poor. They were unable to get, good education, good jobs and stuff. So then the parents become poor, They have kids and stuff, and being that they're poor, uh, they're unable to get, good jobs and a good education and stuff. And then the kids that they have, uh, grow up being poor. And it's the easy fix is to uh, fund the communities so that they can break the cycle of generational poverty and start, uh, you know, raising families and stuff that can access the goods and services just like everybody else of similar wealth status.
Heather McDonald of the Manhattan Institute has explained why. She calls it the Ferguson effect. And it's real. It's also common sense. Why police officers reason: put your career at risk if 30 seconds of smartphone video taken out of context can destroy it. Here's the truth. Police aren't afraid of walking the streets or being shot by random criminals. They're afraid of being involved in an incident that would label them forever as trigger-happy racists.
Okay, well, that's why you keep your body cam on, and instead of turning it off when you're involved in some kind of interaction you don't want to have recorded, uh, have it recorded, and when something happens, release it so that people can see what happened for themselves. Because if the only evidence that we're going to get is by other people recording, well, it is the fault of the cops and not the fault of the public. Um, Cops are pretty known for, lying and falsifying police reports. Like Derek Chauvin, uh, there was an earlier incident where he was involved in a shooting where him and his fellow officers did not even report the shooting happened. And then recently, he is being charged with felony fraud for falsifying his tax records. Um, all you gotta do is to keep your body cam active whenever you're involved in any kind of incident with the public, and these few second video clips won't be damning enough evidence to show that you're a sadistic piece of shit just looking to kill people.
Are there bad cops? I know firsthand that there are. I've had to fire them. But the
Oh, I had to fire them. So instead of actually punishing these cops, you just fire them. Why is it that cops can, frame people, murder people, commit rape and theft, and the only thing that happens to them is they get fired? Because we've had cops caught on their own body cams framing people. There's cops in Baltimore that was caught. You got cops called. You got cops caught. Murdering people. Uh, George Floyd. Um, Breonna Taylor. Even though that wasn't caught on film, it's obvious that it was a murder. Um, uh, you got Eric Garner, which is another famous incident. Uh, was it Freddie Castile, which was another guy who was killed by the cops in a traffic stop. Um, uh, mm,
overwhelming majority are good, decent men and women concerned about the law-abiding citizens in the communities they serve and are willing to put their lives on the line to protect them. Those who try to convince you, either out of ignorance or out of some ideological agenda, that the police are the enemy, those are the people you should fear. Run from them, not the cops.
I don't know because watching the videos of the protests that have been going on, I don't think if somebody told me that the police in riot gear meeting peaceful protesters, attacking them with CS gas and stuff, are the good guys, while the peaceful protesters are the bad guys. Like, when Trump did his photo op at the church and people were peacefully occupying the area, and cops came out with CS gas and stuff and started attacking people. If someone was like, hey, these cops are the good guys, uh, we should, just listen to them, I would be like, wow, you're pretty crazy because good cops don't attack peaceful protesters. And I mean, the entire protest that's been all the protests that have been going on since the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and various other people kind of show uh that these cops aren't really good cops, because when you have mass amounts of cops continually attacking peaceful protesters, the media, and various other people just for protesting when they're peaceful, and nothing happens to the cops for assaulting people, it shows that the supposed good cops are not good cops, because the good cops would not allow bad cops to continually assault people. That's not really how how it works. Like the Boston cops who quit um the emergency response team in protest of the cops shoving a 75-year-old person. Um, that doesn't show that those cops are good cops. It shows that those cops are bad cops because they're trying to um, pressure the city to rehire bad cops for assaulting people. Um, if you want to prove, if these cops actually want to prove that they're good cops, they would be arresting cops attacking peaceful protesters, um, or not doing their job lawfully. They would be defending protesters that are being kidnapped by federal agents that Trump has sent out. There's a lot of things that cops can actually prove that they're good cops, but they don't do anything that proves that they're good cops, because there are no good cops.
I'm Sheriff David Clark for Prager University.